My pen on.
Now you're on it.
Thanks. Good evening, everyone. So before we dive into today's discussion, I want to take a moment to talk about how we handle our speaking order in these study sessions. This is a little different. So I want to thank everyone first for their enthusiasm and commitment. It's clear that we're all very passionate and care deeply about our issues and the energy we bring to these discussions. The whole point of making these sessions more informal is to create a space where we can have open and robust conversation, which is exactly what we're doing. With that said, I think it's also important to remember that taking turns to speak gives everyone a fair chance to contribute and be heard.
Just kidding.
When multiple people talk at once or speak out of turn, it can be challenging to ensure that every perspective gets the attention it deserves.
Yeah.
So moving forward, let's try to balance this informality with a bit of structure. I believe this approach will help us hear from everyone in an organized way without losing the openness that makes the sessions so valuable. So if anyone has thoughts on how to make this work even better, perhaps ways to keep things informal but orderly, I'd love to hear your ideas. And then we can all make sure these discussions stay productive and respectful for all. Thank you all for your hard work and collaboration. Let's go forward.
Me first.
Yes.
Do we have, number one, do we have to put up our hands to speak? And number two, why are we not in our casual around the coffee table room?
That was gonna be my follow-up. Do we have to sit in this line? This is a.
That's the question for the mayor to answer.
I mean, so that we can see each other kind of a thing.
Yeah, I think we could, if we want to go in the other room, absolutely can do that. I think it's more helpful, like right now, we obviously don't have anyone on the crowd. But if they do want to attend and watch, it is a public meeting, they can. That room is very small. We can only have a couple in there, but if council wants to move back there, especially if we're not having an agenda item that's gonna be where we have a lot of people in here, absolutely.
We don't have any recording equipment back there currently.
Yeah.
If we want to bring back the owl, maybe we could do that, but we, that's probably the biggest thing is the recording,
The recording and presentations are difficult to be able to do presentations back there was a problem. Why we kind of moved back here.
Well, now we have the big tables back there. It might not be conducive to inviting people either, but.
Yeah.
Should we sit different? I mean,
what's the reason,
like,
what's the reason?
Just to make it a conversation and to make it different than just a count. This is just the third council meeting. That's how it is.
Like last study session, it was people on this end and see people on this end that were waiting to speak. Or say something, because I like the openness of just be able to talk and touch these things out, but you can't do that when you sit in a line.
Can I go get a chair from there and just bring it in front here? Does it matter to anybody?
Circle the wagons.
We'll make a little
I mean, if
circle.
we both do that, then we're just staring at each other.
So, besides the logistics of it, you're running this meeting, Josh is the mayor pro tem, so if you wanna, hold it over there or whatever, as long as we can make sure it works, we just need to know a little bit ahead of time. But other than that, run the meeting as you see
Now we
fit.
can move these, we can move these desks, can't we?
Or,
In a circle.
oh.
If you wanna call on people, if you don't wanna call, that's up to your prerogative as chair. However you wanna run it.
I was saying we need some more conducive, because sitting in line, it doesn't work, how that, you have to do the call on. But when we just want to just talk, it's easier when you're facing in a circle.
Well,
So
we
you
could
can see.
probably get that figured out for the next one, yeah, the next study section.
Yeah.
I like snacks.
We used to have snacks.
I think better, but no,
Okay, when you shoot a
so we
little-
could do that. We just would have to give you like a heads up.
Yeah, we have to prepare for like logistically to bring the cameras and stuff and set that back up, but as long as we have enough notice, if that's what council really wants. I think we could make that happen, Todd.
Yeah,
Kathy?
check with IT, make sure that. Okay, so it requires that.
Or just somehow move this into a circle,
That's what I'm thinking.
because all the equipment's here to record, if there's a presentation, we have to screen.
You took that end table and literally just swung it out.
Yeah, I'm saying is you just swung these
And
two.
all the tables, you just moved that one.
Can we do that right now?
Where you're looking at
Is that
everybody.
okay? Do you want-
It might be connected, it might not be. If it's not connected,
No, they're not. Yeah, they're not gonna, I don't know if there's anything under there.
Yeah.
No,
This Tracy's.
Just your laptop. Plug in.
his power.
Mine's been backing around too long.
Call Tracy, I'm just pretending like I'm doing something.
That's a little better. Better?
There you go.
Look at that.
This way.
Yeah.
You want
You
to?
got, Councilmember Palmer up on the screen too.
I did it.
Hello, everybody.
If I could have Palmer
And Trevor.
here.
I'm gonna need Tracy to swing further. I can't see him now.
He's just messing.
He's not on camera now.
I like that. Cool.
So, yeah, Tracy isn't on camera now.
Oh,
Do you
it's-
wanna, do you wanna move it over slightly?
Mooch it.
Yeah, it's just like maybe a foot over. Does that work?
You should lean in.
Just straight, just push straight.
Snuggle a little.
I'm actually helping a little this time.
Yep, one more
That better?
half
You're
light.
into
There
it.
you go.
That should do it.
Should be.
Okay, wait, we'll just-
I can see your nameplate, so I'm pretty
that?
sure you're gonna.
There you go.
Moving the couch for my wife.
I think so. Does that work? Yeah, I think.
Yeah, totally keep talking.
Hey, Tom, Tracy.
Everybody hear me okay? He's on there.
I like it. I can actually see people.
So maybe something to play, you guys can play with next time, huh? We'll lay out in here,
You give us direction. It's your meeting, Josh.
new direction then. I don't think about it. All right,
So can we just speak freely?
yeah, but just, yeah, be respectful of others that want to speak is the main point.
Of course.
Property tax. Presentation.
Well, I thought the Zoom was really helpful that you sent. That was great. Watch that, or not Zoom, YouTube.
Yes, I did email out to everybody. There was a YouTube video that a fellow finance director had put together on property tax. And then there was also a PowerPoint. And if you go to that YouTube channel, he's actually made, I think, like 40 different YouTube videos on like local government finance topics. So it is a good resource. But tonight I'm going to share my screen and I just have a short little presentation. I told Tracy that I was going to talk as fast as possible. So just to discuss our property tax levy this year.
That's where it's gonna be weird.
Try to just look at it anyways.
And the other thing we did today is if you go to our city website on the homepage, on the left-hand side, there is you can click on the city finance budget information and it will take you to a page where you can click on the 2025-2026 budget and it'll show you all the presentations that we've done to date on this budget. So if you want to go back and look at any of the presentations, and we'll add this one to it also. So that is available for you. And like I said before, if you have any questions, you can stop by, email me, call me. I'd be happy to discuss anything with you. So this is just the breakdown of the property tax rates within the city of Yelm. The total rate is $9.74 per thousand. The city of Yelm, these are 2024 rates. The city of Yelm was $1.05 of that. And then there's a breakdown of where all the other money goes to. You've got the county, the state, fire districts, medic, port, library, all those different entities. And if you have any questions, just go ahead and stop me or ask.
This is not including, because we didn't add that extra percent, right? Without whatever.
This is 2024 and we did not take the 1% increase in 20. So there are statutory maximums. The maximum total is $3.60 per thousand. We're allowed up to $1.60 per thousand. The fire district is allowed up to $1.50. That's kind of the purple. This fire district is at their maximum $1.50, and the library is allowed up to 50 cents. So those are the maximums that you can go to.
What's the library at now?
Well, this slide, you can see the library, these are 2024 rates. So the city was at $1.05, the library was at 23 cents. I'm down on the bottom there. Fire was at $1.50. So those three, left a total of $1.82 of available capacity. So that is basically capacity that we or the library could go to the voters if we wanted excess capacity for whatever. If you wanted to do a bond and you wanted to go to the voters for capacity for a bond. So at $1.05, we've got 55 cents of capacity. Because if you take $1.05 and add 55 cents, that takes us to $1.60 max. So, Yelm should feel proud that we have that much capacity available. I feel like we're in a good situation with that much capacity.
So if we have capacity available, but if we wanted to increase capacity, we would have to take that to a vote on a ballot?
Right, you'd have to go to the voters. So we are not proposing to take the 1% increase. We could take 1% increase without going to the voters. This is just some information on the RCW that allows that increase. We are allowed the new construction that comes on to our books. And then we don't have some of these other categories like wind, solar, biomass, geothermal facilities. But if you want to look at that RCW, you can.
So you said, just to be clear, because I heard you say it. We can take the 1% without voters,
Right.
but we're choosing not to.
Correct.
Well, that is such a good gesture from the city. And I hope people understand that.
I don't think we've taken it in a few years, so yeah. So this is the 2025 proposed levy. So I start out showing you the assessed value of the city is $1,835,358,054. The levy basis for calculation is that $1,699,000. That's our levy basis. That's our starting point. That is the levy from last year. We are not taking a 1% increase. So to add to that regular levy amount of $1,699,000, we have 90,000. Mouse work on this. We have $90,358 of new construction levy. That's new properties that have come on to the assessor rolls. And then we have $9,849 of re-levy prior year refunds. So right now, and I don't have final numbers from Thurston County right now, our 2025 proposed property tax levy is $1,800,617. And that's the bottom number.
So what contests a refund? How does a pre-levy refund come?
It's nothing that we do. It's actions at the county assessors.
So their math was off a little bit?
I don't know if it's that, or it could be that they miscalculated something. I'd have to look into it more, and I can if you want me to. Oh. They just tell me the number and tell me to plug it in, basically. So
Okay.
It's nothing that the city has done. So our levy rate for 2025, if you look at this, the first row of numbers, our levy rate is going to calculate out to 99 cents per thousand. Last year, our levy rate was $1.13 per thousand about. And so if you had in the bottom there, a homeowner with a $400,000 house in 2025 would pay about $396. In 2024, they paid about $405. So their tax bill has actually gone down a little bit. If their house value were to stay the same. So if your assessed value goes down, your rate can go up until it reaches that $1.60. When we hit $1.60, we would be maxed out. If we're at the $1.60 and our assessed value goes down, you're going to collect less levy dollars. And this is something where if you watch that video, I think they do a good job of explaining those equations and how assessed value going up and down really affects your rates and then what you're paying. And that's it.
Any questions? Moving on, roundabout.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Stephanie?
You see.
Over there if you want.
Hello, council. So there's some questions about the roundabout and just kind of the progress we're at, where the other cities, the other counties are at. And so I was gonna give you an update on that. I was gonna show you some modeling so you can see how traffic will be impacted when the roundabouts are built versus how traffic is right now. So it should be helpful to you. Share this. So just to let you know, where our roundabout, this is the roundabout at Bald Hills, in 507. And just to let you know where our roundabout is at. We are currently in the right-of-way phase for our roundabout, meaning we're purchasing, working with, different organizations that own the properties around that to kind of secure that, location to make sure that we can build this roundabout that Wildcat wants us to build. We are also in kind of the final process of getting Washington State Department of Transportation to approve what our plan is. There's some storm swells and some other things they have to approve for us to be able to move forward. I'm going to.
It just opened.
Yeah, it was wonky on there.
This is with room for 2 lanes, Cody?
Yeah, I'm gonna show you, I'll show you, first I'm gonna show you the modeling, then I'll show you what the roundabout actually looks like. Yeah, I know you guys have seen the picture, so this is really cool model that TRPC, Mark Daly, if you know him, helped us kind of create. It shows you, so this right now, you can see yellow and green and red dots, and I'll do a little play for you here. The yellow dots are cars that are slowing down, the red dots are cars that are backing up and at complete stops. So I know it's zoomed out, so it's hard to tell, I'll zoom in on each intersection. So right here, this is right now, currently in Yelm, from the hours of, as you can maybe see here, 5 o'clock, 1700 to 6 o'clock. So when we play this, you can see traffic at the worst time, how it looks in these areas. See how those cars back up? You've been down there, you see cars back up, right? So that's without a single roundabout, and that's what it looks like right now, currently in the world we live in. So that's a no-build base. Here's 702, and I want you to focus on 702. You can see that long red line right here before I even play the video. See this long red line of cars at 702? If you have like a store over there and you've ever been out there, see how long that red line goes of cars at complete stops at 702, right? This is currently right now. We always talk about the choke point is this. This is the choke point, and there's a reason.
Is that red coming into town?
Yeah, red coming in and red backing up. This is with, let me back up.
From like the Eatonville area.
Yeah, this is just with the Bald Hills. This is just if we built our roundabout. And you remember how red this was over here before and how far it backed up. And look at the red now is no longer backing up as far. You're still getting some red, but not a lot. This is just if we build a Bald Hills roundabout. You still have all the issues up here at 702, right? My mouse could go. You still have all these issues up here backing up. Let me do that one. Here's a zoom in on the Bald Hills section so you can kind of see how much better it gets with a roundabout. You see how cars are not backing up all the way to Safeway anymore? You're seeing some backup, but not to the point. This is just with the Bald Hills roundabout, not to the point it used to be.
That big, still
Yeah,
a lot
that's
of red
Walmart.
though.
Still a lot, but this is just Bald Hills roundabout, not counting 702. I just want you to see the difference a little bit, and it's gonna blow your mind. This is a 507. I'm gonna skip this one because I want you to see the difference. Oh, maybe you can see it. So look at 702 now with the roundabout here.
Wow.
Right.
There is,
Nobody's shocked about that.
yeah, and I mean, you shouldn't be, and you can even, watch when we have all three roundabouts in place. This part's gonna, here we go. So this is with all the two main roundabouts we've talked about, 702 and 507. You can see no backup happening up here. You can see a little backup happening here, but not a whole lot. Not nearly as bad as it used to be, right?
There's a little at Walmart, but
But this was without Walmart's roundabout in the equation. So we're gonna get a new one where it has both.
And that was with the Vale Road one too.
No, this is not the Vale Road one. I have one with the Vale Road. So look at 702 though. Now we gotta zoom in on this. You don't see any more of that backup. There's no more choke point at that McKenna. It doesn't back up to the bridge anymore. Cars are slowing down, but they're not fully stopped anymore on the bridge.
Well, being at 702, I know it's washed out because it's not city of Yelm.
It's Pierce County is doing that for WildDOT.
So Pierce County is gonna take care of their situation separate from ours.
Correct. And I'll go over timeline. So look, here's this, I'll zoom in on this intersection. Look how few the red is. It never starts backing up crazy. You get a couple sections here, but never anything bad. Whereas now, before we had the roundabout, it's backed up to here, right? The red line. And then this is with all three roundabouts in play, minus the Walmart one, which that would fix that. So just way, way smoother. I know it's hard because they're just little dots and you're like, well, this is little dots. What the heck's going on? But the amount of traffic improvement, especially here in this major choke point, makes things so much smoother. And this doesn't calculate the bypass, right? With the loop coming in, the Yelm loop, you can imagine this being significantly even better. I don't have that one.
Oh.
So I was just focused on the roundabout for this, so. Here's a little zoom in of kind of this intersection down here. This is the roundabout at Vale Road, which is purely a safety one. How smooth that is. Oh, man. Pretty.
No blood clots, all right.
Gosh. I'd love to have a business up there at that point.
Better buy it now.
Better buy it now. Better buy it now. Here's this with all the roundabouts. Here's a zoom in of our intersection. And if you've been at this intersection, I've been at times where I've been back here and it's taken me 7, 8 cycles to get through this light here, and vice versa coming this way too. So,
Cody, can we see this online?
yeah, this will be posted online. We're going to share this to our website. It is a very big PowerPoint file because there's so many videos in it. So, and I'm going to share you our roundabout one more time so you can get a view of that.
This will be accessible to the public if they want to take a look at it. I would encourage you to push it out on your social medias, let folks know how it's going to impact us, how it's going to help.
So this also does not calculate our roundabout here at Morris Road, Ball Hill. So this is the finished product, what it'll be with our roundabout. It'll start as a 1-lane probably for a few years and then turn into a 2-lane purely by striping. And we're not going to do any more construction. They're just going to stripe off 1 lane because I think I mentioned this last time. When you don't have enough traffic going through a roundabout, people tend to swerve in and out of the lanes and it causes issues in a roundabout. So you limit the access to the roundabout until it's needed to have a 2nd lane. And if you're like me, you're like, well, we already have that amount of traffic. What the heck? We need to have 2 lanes. The models actually don't show that until about 2028 that we'll need 2 lanes. So what we'll do is we'll do striping along one of the lanes just to close it. And as soon as we hit that traffic number, we come back in, cover it with tar and then repaint striping so that it's an open lane.
But aren't you gonna need more money? And they probably won't have the money then.
It'll be a very minimal cost to do the restriping. It'll be WASDOT that'll do that when it comes in
So the
time to.
room for the lane will be there.
Yeah, these lanes will be done and you'll just be striping across 1 lane here that'll block it off. I can actually pull up, I have the model of that too. Should be able to pull it up, but. And we're on a good timeline for this. So right now, right away acquisition, the plan is we'll go in construction late 25, early 26. The other 2 roundabouts are on the exact same timeline. So these should all be complete in sequence with the bypass. So the loop and these actually might be done shortly before the loop is complete, but they'll all be completed in sequence. Yes, you're going to have a headache for 3 to 4 months while this is being done. But it can be phased in a way where it's not blocking off lanes. You're just driving on gravel for a little bit. And then you're back onto a road. A lot of the construction will happen late at night when there is a lane closure. We'll do, midnight to 3 construction or something. So that way there's not having to be impacts in daily traffic. So it's an exciting project. Everything's moving forward. The reason why right-of-way acquisition is so important is because you notice these properties here, this goes through part of these properties and it cuts through part of this Emerald Car Care, and we take part of AMPM. So there's a lot of take that has to happen here, and we need to do it in a way that's responsible as a government entity and compensates the people, but also has little impact to them. So it's a lot of balancing the needs and the wants.
Cody, could you go into a little bit about the businesses that are impacted? What, if a future business wants to come in there, how does this impact them? How does it help them?
Yeah, so one big part is you might notice this, there was at one point, a big development trying to come into this parcel right here, if you can see my mouse. They couldn't come into this parcel because they started failing this intersection, the one over at Marsh Road, Balls Hills. They could have made the improvements, but it's very expensive to make the improvements. Once the improvements are made, then a business can come in. Part of what we do in Yelm is when a business comes in, they have to do a traffic impact study. If they are failing an intersection or causing an intersection to lower in concurrency, they have to make improvements to that intersection. They can be very costly for a business, right? If I'm a small business owner or even a decent sized business owner, millions of dollars to do a road improvement is crazy. It'd take me years to get that back. So a lot of them just choose not to do that. Hence these two big parcels, they chose not to develop. One was the Popeyes here. The other one was a different entity. It was Arby's and a couple other places. They chose not to come in because they couldn't pencil out the improvements that needed to be made. So once the improvements are made, then they can come in and they don't have to make those improvements anymore. They're no longer failing those intersections. So it becomes way more attractive for these two people or these two parcels to develop in a way that can put more burden on the streets because the streets can handle it.
And we're already hearing from developer, the person that owns that property wants to develop it.
Yeah.
So this is allowing them to do
Can we
it.
do something other than fast food?
And it's their commercial building. I don't know, like.
Yeah, so I mean, most likely this location, we've heard a couple different proposals, like they had I think there was a Chipotle in there at one time, a car wash, there's been different proposals, but a lot of what we're getting now is kind of those, it's not a very big parcel, 4 acres, you can't build a giant, building on there, but it'll be some of those smaller buildings, but I think we'll get some new choices that Yelm doesn't have yet offered to it, which I think people will be excited about, the new proposal they're coming through with right now. So, and this road will, this will make it happen, and they can build there without having to do a $2 million roundabout or a $4 million roundabout. So it's just really helpful to businesses. And we do track traffic because if we didn't, these people wouldn't have been able, these people just came in and, caused that road to fail even worse. So it's exciting project and we're moving along well. I just want to continue updating you on that.
When you say all 3 roundabouts, do you mean these 2 and the one by Walmart?
When I say 3, I said this one, the Vale Road 507, and then 702 507 roundabout. Those are the 3 that WASDOT's assigned to different entities.
I didn't realize, okay, Vale was.
Yeah, there will be 5 roundabouts if you count the Walmart one too, because there'll be one at Walmart when the loop comes, will be this roundabout here. So there will be 5 roundabouts in that kind of vicinity that'll really streamline traffic and get it out of Yelm into, Roy,
Kind of like See in Reservation.
On the state highway, so that's not part of the state.
This is counted as 2 roundabouts.
Yes, I think the one that he's talking about is the bigger one, and the smaller ones that we're gonna get funding for. It comes to what was Barkus.
Yeah, the nice thing about this is, again, we're not paying for this, WASDOT is, right? We're doing their project for them and accelerating it.
The big one?
The big one, but in turn, because this roundabout makes this intersection fail, we can ask them to do the improvements here too, and it sounds like they're going to.
We're partnering with them.
We're partnering with them to do that. So it's beneficial that we had all these kind of things in mind at the same time.
And
They get them to help out.
it's also getting looked at by the legislature, because this is kind of like a pilot program. This hasn't happened before where WASDOT gives basically the check to the local municipalities to do that project. But it's gonna, are you gonna talk about this? Sorry.
No, you go ahead. I was gonna see if I can find the other one that shows the roundabout, the different design so they can know what it is.
So the transportation committees are definitely watching this and seeing how, not just our jurisdiction, but Thurston County and Pierce County, how they're working with WASDOT to get things done. If this is all successful, and so far it's been going really well, and we're all, for the most part, within the budget to do these projects. If it's successful, they're likely to expand to other municipalities as well, likely.
It's kind of scary.
I think it's how we ended up with being responsible for the freeway system here. The federal government did that exact same thing to us. To the states, they said, hey, here's this, we're gonna build you this fantastic international or interstate highway system. They built it, and then they said, okay, here, it's your responsibility to take care of it. And I kind of view that's what's going on here.
It's not.
I think it's great, don't get me wrong, I think it's great they're handing it to us being it's in the middle of our community. But on the other side of the token, I think that they're not holding up their responsibility as a state legislature and as the state DOT to do their job, and we're kind of bailing them out, so.
Not really, they're gonna maintain it. Cody, can you go on the maintenance and who?
Yeah, so one thing that is happening is because everything has to get approved through them. They're building the roundabout, for lack of a better term. They have to approve it. They have to approve the design. They have to approve the construction plan. They have to approve. We're just like a middleman that is accelerating it for them. So instead of their departments going through the approvals, they go through. We do have an agreement to maintain the current roundabout coming into town. And I don't know how that ended up happening, but it's a good thing it ended up happening, because if you've looked at roundabouts that the state maintains, they don't maintain them. So the roundabout coming into town looks, for the most part, pretty dang good most of the time. So there will be we're already working on agreements for the other roundabouts along the bypass, but in order to keep them maintained well, we'll probably come to some agreement with them for funding of those and us maintaining them, but that's still to be worked on.
Similar to the state routes that we currently help. And we don't maintain them.
Yeah.
ODOT does, but I mean, we partner with them, work with them.
Yeah,
to
we
make sure
sweep
that-
them, so there's things we do to help them look better because they're in town, even though they're not our responsibility.
No,
And
I
it's just,
don't disagree with that at all.
Yeah.
I think it's a fantastic plan, because then it lets us make sure that they are maintained and well kept, as long as we're getting funding from them.
Right.
But that's what I'm referring to, is the whole construction project. And like I said, once again, I think this is great because it is right in the middle of our community, and prior to that, it didn't look really clear as to what was happening. But I think once again, I think it's important to comment on that reality that, you know, this is DOT not doing what, I mean, they're hurting for employees. I mean, obviously it's not the funding, because they're just handing off the funding for this as well. So that's where, you know, it just seems like, I mean, I don't mind building a roundabout in our town.
no, I think,
It makes me curious, leaves me left wondering what's going on with up the DOT, where they're handing off this stuff for jurisdictions. Hey, here's the money, go ahead.
yeah, I think they didn't want to hand it off. To be honest, Barkus, who's our rep, was very adamant. He wanted these roundabouts built quickly, and DOT was pushing them off. So a lot of his work is as transportation secretary. He got it pushed to us to do these projects so they get done quicker. And that's the only, like you said, as a normal city, I don't think we or the mayor would have taken these projects on if there wasn't a time issue, because our traffic is so bad right now.
Sure.
So I completely agree with you that we need to keep track and make sure that this is being done right. But if we can get something done a little quicker to help us out, let's do it, but let's be careful about how we do it. So I agree with you on
No,
that.
and I firmly agree with you on that, and I apologize for taking so many bites of the apple, but I just think that I'm a little unclear as to how stuck to what they agree that we want to build. As you know where I'm going with this.
I do.
I'm still curious about this, you know, this four lane roundabout, or excuse me, 4 entrance roundabout, and not a 5 entrance, which you look based on there's already a road that runs through here, so we're not talking about reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, and I remember we talked about that quite a bit. I think you're right in that we does limit what we can do a little bit, because we are building what we can do. It's still within reason what we're doing. If it was vastly different and I said, this is not gonna work, and our team agreed that it wasn't gonna work, and they're saying, you're gonna do it this way, we'd say, fine, it's yours, you know, we're done. I think this will work and it models better. You know, we talked about the 5 lane roundabout several times. I think this does model better, and it has less impact on the citizens to do it this way. But I get what you're talking about. Let's be careful about this in the future. And I think that's a good thing to do. I just wanted to show you this really quick. This is what it'll look like, that single lane I talked about, how it's striped. You see the 1 lane is striped off. And then all you do when you convert to 2 lane is you cover those stripes up, and then you have 2 lanes. Super easy process to change and manipulate.
To also build on what Councilmember Woods was bringing up, I see, and I agree with him, that we need to make sure, because we have the one issue of a wonderful lake that starts to form, which is on 507, that how many years have we been saying this needs to get fixed, and WashDOT is yet to come and maintain it. So, you know, I agree, we need to be careful, because that's also another flooding area. If Yelm Creek doesn't get fixed.
Yeah, and I think the benefit of us being involved in this project is we can make sure it's built right. Whereas normally we would have zero input on this, right? The only input we get is public comment when it's already, hey, we finished the design, please provide public comment. Now we actually get to make sure it's designed in a way that's functional. So this is pretty much what it will look like when it's done. There's gonna be some differences. You'll have some probably stormwater basins around the edges and some other minor changes, but in the middle section is still, we still got design to go through, but this is kind of what you'll see when it's all done, which. Yeah.
Are there any embellishments that they have added there at our request, like lighting and statues and
So
pretty things?
As we go into design, we're going to try to use what extra money is involved in it to create some things that make it unique to Yelm. So I'll be showing you those as we get farther along. Right now, until we get right away, we can't go into full design phase, so we can only go conceptual. Once we get right away, then we're allowed to go in full design. So now we know the property we can build in. And then we'll start working on what like the roundabout looks like, what the models, all that. If we want to put Yelm on it or whatever, that'll all come in.
Because remember when those DOT people came in, we talked about merging with the tribe and doing a continuity of things along with the ones that they're doing in Eatonville. So.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good
Not to
idea.
leave that out.
Yeah, and I think what makes Yelm unique is we do special things that make it a little different than everybody else. So we'll figure out a way to do that, and even if we have to sneak something in there, so.
All right, moving on. Outside agency funding discussion.
All right, so, this is for the outside agency request that we got a briefing on, was it last month at the study session, I believe? Where they all came in. There's no action that's being asked for right now. It's basically the recommendations that I've gathered from all the council, having meetings from the study session, your thoughts, your input. Just to go over some of the key facts for the public. The Yelm City Council approved the outside agency budget request to fund one or more nonprofit agencies or organizations that provide core service to the city of Yelm. The application process was publicly advertised and open for 30 days. City of Yelm received 8 applications requesting funding as part of the 2025-2026 biennial budget, totaling $208,108.03. Yelm Seniors, these are all their actual requests, funding amounts. Yelm Senior Center, $21,000. Yelm Chamber of Commerce, $10,000. Rebuilding Together Thurston County, $100,000. Downings for Families, $12,108.03. Total Sports Development, $15,000. South Puget Sound Habitat for Humanity, $50,000. All applicants were invited and gave a presentation to the city council at September 3rd, 2024 city council meeting. We received comments and input from the city council, as well as we heard from the actual organizations themselves. Finance director is recommending a total of $50,000 each year for the 2025-2026, so $100,000 for the biennium. Funding is the 2023-2024 biennial budget and was approved for $28,000 each year. These, from the feedback from the council, the following, and they're in line with what my administration is also collaborated on and put together. If council, if I'm way off or we're way off on this and what council wants, we can absolutely discuss changes where people want to put their funding towards. But currently, the Yelm Senior Center is fully funding, or is recommended for fully funding at $21,000 to assist operating costs, provide home cooked meals to the senior citizens of Yelm. Pool Sports Development is recommending at $9,000 to assist with the registration fees for our tornado youth and all sports, football, wrestling, basketball, baseball. Bounties for Families, a recommendation of $10,000 to help provide Thanksgiving meals to families in need through the Gift of God program. And this will obviously be for next year. The South Puget Sound Habitat for Humanity, $10,000 to assist the home repair program with the execution of home repair projects in the city of Yelm for low to moderate income homeowners that cannot make their homes uninhabitable. Questions? Is this? Josh?
How come nothing was given to rebuilding together?
That's a good question. Limited funding.
They do the same thing as Habitat.
And that's kind of why we focus more on Habitat. Rather than split that money, I thought it could be more useful for the smaller amount, which would overall is I'd say more percentage wise, it's more rather than the other one group, which I believe was over 100,000.
At 100.
Yeah, and so being that it's, they're asking for a smaller amount, this is, we believe would be a bigger impact to them. And we know that these dollars will, not only stay in Yelm, we do from the other ones, is what from their presentations, they obviously stated the different, things. But being very similar, we figured the dollar would go further to the city of Yelm residents with that organization. This is again, just a recommendation. If council does want to fund more for, or want to change that funding levels for different programs, absolutely open to it. It's your budget. Councilmember Hess.
For the Yelm Senior Center, I would like to see us go ahead and increase that a little bit, because if I remember correct, it was, they were trying to get about $2,000 a month to help cover the basic costs. And I think we should do what we can to see if we can do that.
This was the amount that they requested. We fully funded it.
Right, well,
Will that be an increase, like,
Right,
like from what we're currently?
yes,
and
I want to
that's-
see, I'd
That's
like to see, if
exactly
we-
what they asked.
right, but I think,
Wouldn't it be weird if we just?
but it's because it's when they were doing the presentation, they stated that, you know, this is what they felt comfortable asking for and not asking for more, but because of what they do for the community within the community as a whole, that if we were able to help free up some of their other budget to be able to add more activities by us helping cover those things, because it is the senior center of Yelm and really is a good addition to our community.
Is there one that you would suggest changing then, lowering their amount?
Well, I think we might have the money in the budget. I mean, we got a large reserve. And I'm not saying, you know, go excessively into the reserve, but $1,000 out of the reserve of how many million? I hate to use the term pennies on the dollar, but I think that's something that'd be kind of nice to do for them.
Yeah, let's hear from the rest of council if.
So,
Stand up.
let me be super clear here. So you want to go outside the parameters of not only our budget, but also what they asked for to give them more money when we're not giving some of these entities any money and some we're not giving.
I hadn't gotten to the other entities. I was just getting ready to go right down the line.
Okay, so I'm hearing you right though, so
Yes.
far.
Right now, I think it would be a really good thing for us to do, because they, you know, also remember, they are also a cooling center, a warming center, a variety of other things that help out our community as a whole.
I mean, just from my perspective, I think we've already increased it a lot. My first year in our budget, the council passed. It went almost double to, what was it? Or was it double?
They asked, I think it was 12, we gave them 18 last time.
So we've been consistently giving them more money, and I agree. I know the importance of, you know, our senior center, and that's why it was the only group that was fully funded in it. But we also have to be responsible, you know, stewards of the taxpayers' money, and this is still a very large budget item that we haven't done in the past. And this is what our finance director was comfortable awarding, and I think it's towards the higher end as well for her. And Stephanie, please correct me if I'm wrong, what your thoughts are, and if we did have to raise that.
I mean, there is reserves available to raise it. But I think. And my thought was, I think that 50,000 going in total for outside agencies it's generous and it's a start. If council wants to do this type of program, there's nothing requiring us to do this. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this seems like too much. Like, I would rather split the 30 with the senior center and the sports, helping the seniors and the kids. 15 and 15. I mean, I don't understand where the costs are for the senior center. My understanding was they paid off their mortgage, they have no debt. And what, they give lunch to seniors, do they do that every day? Like, I mean, what do they need that costs that much money? That we need to help them with on top of what they already have?
It was the utilities portion is what they were.
Utilities?
What they were looking at if you remember from their briefing, they were saying that money that they were asking for was to help cover the basic monthly costs to keep the building open and functional. That the then that way they were able to use more of the $50 per membership to help pay for the activities and all the other stuff that they provide. And then that would, helping them out would also free up to where they can do more.
Sticking on just the senior center, Tracy, Joseph,
You guys know.
what are your thoughts on it?
I have a question, how is, and pardon my ignorance on this, but how is the senior center funded at this point?
I don't know.
A portion of it is through city funding that we
I
do.
understand that.
And then they raise their own funding, I believe, from membership dues. And I don't want to speak out of turn. If someone else, I think Joseph was.
It's $50 per member, and then I think they have a fundraiser, with various things. And I think also when they do their breakfast, that's, at cost.
Do you know how many members they have?
I can't remember how many
Just
members.
off the top, it's not critical.
No, I honestly can't remember, and I don't have the right notebook that I took all my notes in.
I guess the point I'm making is, I don't disagree with Brian on this. They, as he stated, they came in and asked for what they felt comfortable asking, not what they actually need. And I know that at $50 a person, I'm not sure how many people are there, but I'm sure there's not thousands. This is, and I look at it, I look at this as total sports development there. Where is their funding coming from?
I think just private donors. The reason I think they were asking from their presentation I gathered was due to the higher costs for the students. I thought this would be a good way to help support the schools in an indirect way, at least for their sports. And their
So we could help
athletics.
more of the kids if we divided that money fairly. I don't
The
know.
kids-
When we donate, when we do lunches at the senior center, we cook the food and we pay for the food. I mean, they get so many donations when they have people help do their events. So I don't know.
I just hope when I'm at that age where I want to spend my time at the senior center, that there isn't a council here that's questioning, whether or not we're worthy of spending some money on it to help them. I mean, you drive by there, that parking lot's not, it's already well past needing some attention, but they don't have the funding to do that. I'm not saying we should build them a new parking lot. I'm saying these are things you got to take into consideration. Any extra money they get at all, they're not squandering it. They're using it on things that they need there at the community center. Once again, we're talking about our senior citizens. We're talking about a lot of people that help to develop this community that we're all trying to make good decisions for. So I'm not saying we should just, support and fund everything everybody asks for, but I think you need to take this into consideration. If you're wondering why this is something that I believe Brian's passionate about is, I think he's feeling that I'm kind of feeling we're overlooking these people and need to make sure that, I'm not 21,000 in today's day and age isn't much money. That's just not a lot of money.
I'd super like to dial it back just a tiny little bit further than that, and before we talk about like the different entities and things like that, like what are the parameters of this program? Like we have, obviously now there's a budget, which is more than, I feel like when we had the presentation, like my mind was rolling with, but like where, like with the beautification grants, we have a little bit more of a, like a meat and potatoes kind of guideline, right? So this kind of feels like, here's just my suggestions, kind of a thing. Like, is that where we're at with this type of a program? Like,
I think that you can see there was a process. It's developed, since, my first year, what we've done, we've never done this before. We never did these outside agency
yeah, and that's what
requests.
I'm just curious, like where we're going
Sure.
with this in the future, and is there a formulary that we might be able to?
So
fall
there
back
are
on?
certain things that we can and can't do, allowing certain entities to request. It has to be nonprofit. Stephanie, I think Kathy, both of you know some of them.
Right, so it has to be, and I sent out an email on this, because there is the, gift of public funds, but you can support the poor and the infirm, and you can also provide essential services. So my thought with the seniors is generally, those are people who are older in age. In my experience, many of them are trying to live off Social Security. So definitely, I think they qualify for the poor, and they're seniors. They're, getting older in age, and so there's those two guidelines. And I do agree. I think next year we will do a better job of really coming to council, to an agreement with council and the management team of here's our specific guidelines that we are going to follow. Maybe agree on a budget number before we put out the application process, so we don't get people coming in here asking for large sums of money, because we obviously don't have all of that, right? And so my thought is you really you wanna provide services that you deem essential that the city would provide, and you also want to take into consideration, they have to be a nonprofit and they have to be supporting the poor and the infirm of this community.
Joseph, Josh, did you two bring input on this?
I was just gonna say too, because I understand where everybody's coming from and I love the ask for more. I do appreciate that. I do know that as as in charge of finances, you're trying to be as generous as possible without making too many, we're not just trying to give money away. But at the same time, I think it's very important to acknowledge our seniors in the community. If Yelm is a place where you want to retire and because a lot of seniors are very responsible. They pay their bills, they do things very well. But it is hard because there's a limited fixed income sometimes, and they're pulling off their pension, they're either pulling off Social Security, and it's kind of hard to maintain. But honestly, to have a community where you can go, there's a quality of life, there's quality of health when you can get out and it'll help people live longer. We've got to honor our elders in the community. We got to honor old folks that live here. And I think that's just healthy for a community. At the same time, taking care of youth as well. But I do think in this instant, I think we need to give a little more attention to the seniors, because I think they're so used to living at a certain income. And the world has changed and inflation has changed so much, the economy has changed so much, that I think this would mean a lot and it would, revitalize our community in that area. And plus there seems to be a lot of partnership with the senior center, as Hess was mentioning, cooling and warming center. I think it's very important as far as adding more for the moment. It's always good to give more, but I think we've kind of reached our point where, well, let's consider it next year. I think we could have more hindsight on that. So I don't want to just negate what Councilmember Hess is saying. I think it's important to always to think ahead and let's give them more if possible. That's always a good thing. So, and when you do get older, I hope you do go there.
So are you asking then or suggesting full funding? Is there a request or?
I like the full funding as is. And I know you've done a lot of hard work, Stephanie, on this. And so if it's there, that's cool, but let's honor what they've asked, give what we can at the moment, and then just plan for next year. And every year you guys have. Every year it's gone up, and I respect that and appreciate that. And so we've got to manage cities, finances just as much as we are giving out. So I think that's a healthy gesture.
Can we hear from Josh before?
So overall, I think there's a lot of parameters we're missing with this whole program. And I would like to see us just scrap it for now, fund the senior center, because we already do that anyways. And get those parameters established a little further, because you said that rebuilding asked for 100,000, but nobody said they couldn't. They just asked for, okay, man, so we say, hey, ask for money. I'm going to ask for a lot of money because you didn't say oh no, we only didn't give out 10,000. Well, then they probably would have asked for 10,000. And then also, I think that not giving rebuilding together anything and giving Habitat for Humanity something shows favoritism, because they both do the exact same thing. They're both outside the area. That was one of the questions I asked, what do you do different? It sounds like you both help housing people need. Now, they may do some other things, but for the most part, they kind of do the same thing. And so I think it should be evenly. If you're going to give to one, you should give to the other, because they kind of do the same thing. And then on the TSD, I wasn't clear. Was this 9,000 to go to assist with registration fees for the schools or for the TSD business?
For which one?
The TSD, the Total Sports Development.
For the
For
business.
sports, not for.
Yeah, it's for their business. So the people going to their business to play sports, that's what the registration fees cover, not for the
No,
kids going to the schools.
I believe it's to this kids playing school sports. It's.
That's how I heard it.
No, it wasn't for the kids playing school sports. It was for kids playing within the program. And the money was going more to those who could not afford because of, income level of family. And it was allowing them to be able to get that sports equipment, the uniform, all those things so they could participate in the sports program that TDS provides, which helped feed into the schools because they worked with the coaches of the school and the coaches of TSD, and they all were on the same plan that by time a child reached high school, he knew the basic plays, he knew what was being developed by the coach. And now all they had to really work on was refining those play skills as well as the skills within the sport itself.
We can get clarification from them as well. Okay. Is there any thoughts on the other ones as well?
I found some information for Councilmember Wood in reference to the senior center. When they gave this briefing, they had 241 members. 90% of them are actively participating there. $50 is what they collect, and that's an annual fee. They offer classes to help them improve their balance, flexibility, and health, such as exercise, yoga, line dancing, and Tai Chi. They have a library that they work in, for their books that they might want to do. It's a lending library. They also provide social connection, card games, crafts, painting, puzzles, various other, that kind of activity. And they also provide a CPR class that's open to the public. The meals is Tuesday through Thursday at a minimal cost. Again, they also do provide the cooling heating center, and their funding comes from membership dues, building usage. If somebody outside of the community wants to utilize the building, they rent, fundraisers, grants, donations, and the city of Yelm.
Trevor, I know you're up there on the screen. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So yeah, my thoughts are, I'd like to see the $10,000 from the Habitat for Humanity go towards the senior center. I think we need to give them a little bit more funding. I agree with the total sports development, and I also agree with the turkey give. So yeah.
Are you suggesting 31,000 for the senior center?
Yep, I think that'll give them more money to do the extra programs that they need to do. So that help our community directly. So that would be my suggestion.
And I could be wrong, but I think all the people that teach yoga and bring in these good things, they're all voluntary.
Right. They are volunteers.
Teachers are voluntary, so it doesn't cost anything.
No, it doesn't cost them anything, but you got to remember they got to have
Pay a fee
insurance.
for the class.
They have, their basic costs are, they have insurance for the building. They have to pay for the electric, gas, water, those various things, maintenance for the building, somebody coming in and cleaning it if necessary. And that's what they said, what they were reaching out to the city for was to help with that monthly cost. They work really hard for maintenance of the building to keep it down so that then they can use the fees and any other monies that they gather from fundraising and grants to help expand and provide more activities for their members. And I just remember that. I wish I had my notes because I wrote down a lot about that.
Just for clarification, those numbers he gave me, that's $12,000 a year that the senior center operates off of. $1,000 a month to do provide all these things that they provide. Once again, I think I've made my point. It's about what I feel on this.
1,000 just for membership.
Yeah, just for membership.
And then 18,000
I don't see them renting it out an awful lot. I mean,
plus
Then they'd have 33,000 a year if we gave them the 21 to operate.
Well, besides whatever money you crack, I mean, we don't know their books. We don't know.
Property tax they got to pay and all the other stuff.
I'm trying to apply it to my commercial property. 33 grand a year, I'm in trouble. That's not gonna cover my operational costs just for the building. Just for the building alone. Significantly.
But it's not like it's a city-owned senior
I
center.
understand that. Once again, my perspective on this is the fact that we're not talking about property, we're talking about people. We're talking about senior citizens, and for those of you that don't understand, the seniors that go there aren't the ones who have, done excessively well and have made a lot of money and, are going there for their social, entertainment or value. These are the ones who, as Joseph was mentioning, these are the ones that, planned for the future, but the future's costing a lot more than even any of us could have anticipated.
Any other thoughts on the other routes for the other organizations?
Was the chamber tossed out because of the whole question of the property?
Correct.
I agree with the whole Habitat for Humanity versus Rebuilding Together. I feel like they're such close entities, and I think actually, I know if you put a top line on ask for this much, you're gonna ask for this much, because aren't you always taught to ask for that much? So as far as awarding any monies that way, maybe it should be split exactly half and half. I think both entities to come here and talk with us. I hear about Habitat more than I do the other one, but that just might be my own circle of
When you say more, how long have you heard of,
Rebuilding Together.
yeah,
Probably half the amount of time that I ever do with Habitat, but it's still out there because one of the board members also serves on the chamber board, so I do hear about their act quite a bit, but I feel that Habitat for Humanity for the past, I could think back at least 3 years that they've literally immersed themselves into a community, and so that's where I would have a little, in a sense, the favoritism that we kind of feel, but then
When we asked that lady, she's, because we said, well, where are you? She said, well, we're mostly Thurston County. It was like a general blanket, but we have a community of Habitat for Community and we have a store here. So
and
we have-
Habitat for Humanity is Thurston County as well, so don't be mistaken by that. So this isn't the only store or the only, source. We're building houses right here in Yelm. I see your hand, sorry.
No, no,
Uh,
I can wait.
we're building houses here in Yelm. I mean, they are building houses, right? And so we probably hear a whole lot more about that. But they build houses in a lot of places as well.
The difference between Habitat for Humanity and the Rebuilding Together, they actually there was a big distinction between the two. Habitat for Humanity was more volunteer-based, which meant that they were able to be more the handyman. Somebody needs electrical plugs, somebody needs certain things that don't require the contractor. Rebuilding Together, when they were talking about it, was 7 homes here in Yelm itself that money was going to go to. And these were homes that needed a brand new water heater put in, floors rebuilt because the water heater leaked or something leaked and destroyed the floor, roofs that were leaking, a variety of other things. And so the difference between the two is when you go in to do the work, one was any one of us could go in and do and help out because it's just handyman and learning, what you do for the maintenance wise. And the other one was, okay, we've got to have the full plan. These are the things that need to be code, and then they go through that whole
And
process.
they went through contractors.
Project,
For
but I-
contractors.
but it's still an equivalent volunteer base.
Yeah, I think there's, and I'm not sure either about the information, but I think Hess is kind of correct in the state where, because I thought with Rebuilding Together that they actually have volunteer contractors who are contractors but don't get paid to do the work. They do it pro bono. They just like where Habitat for Humanity actually has to pay their contractors, and at the same time they don't call it sweat equity, but people to volunteer time, but they actually have to pay their contractors. Where Rebuilding Together, I don't know if they necessarily do that, but it helps to fund the organization, and they ask contractors to volunteer their work and time to do so.
It's the opposite.
Well, again, I don't know.
They both ask for volunteer contracts.
Yeah, they both ask for volunteers, but I think when it comes to South Puget Sound Habitat for Humanity, I think they actually pay the contractors to do the work, where versus Rebuilding Together looks for contractors to volunteer their work is what I think it is. And I could be wrong. I'm not entirely sure.
You guys got a lot more out of that presentation, I think, than I did.
Well, actually, I think I went to a Rebuilding Together banquet and that's how they function. And I thought, wait, so these contractors just volunteer their time, they don't get paid to do this? Oh, that's very heartwarming. So I think that's what I remember from that. So, yeah.
How about the funding levels, the recommendation for the bounties for families? Any thoughts on that?
100%.
100, yeah.
I think the same reasons that the senior center needs to be taken care of. I think that these families are needing scoop up this, help, but. Yeah.
And just as much as, you know, Councilmember Wood said, like, we're talking about people. And so if there's any way to initially meet that need of a person, food is very easy to meet. And if it's feeding multitudes, I think that's an idea that we need to go with.
I just think it's important that we, before we move off from the South Puget Sound Habitat for Humanity, to not lose sight of the fact that they have a store right in our town that our entire community donates to.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
they make revenue. They have a source of revenue. We are donating to them as a community as it is. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration. Yes, they're asking for, you know, it's comparatively kind of a low number, but you know, let's, I mean, does anybody know the numbers as far as it's a nonprofit, I guess, so there's numbers to be available as to what kind of revenue they're producing, but at least they have the ability to, and we are as a community, not just as, you know, a council, but as a community already providing for that.
Well,
They were
I can
able to
tell you
purchase-
from having trying to drop stuff off there, they receive more than they can take at the moment because they get so many donations they have to turn people away. So they aren't hurting for donations either at the moment. Warehouse space, yes, but not donations.
They did buy those 2 properties on Yelm Avenue too. Just saying.
All right, so I'm kind of gathering what you all are saying. Just to go back, last biennial budget, council approved $28,000 for all those programs. You're suggesting to increase the funding this year. Our recommendation was to increase it to 50,000 per year, almost doubling what we were given. Y'all want to go higher than the 50,000.
No.
That's what I was hearing, okay.
No.
So within that $50,000, we can't fund everybody. Can we agree upon that, or do we want to? Okay, so we can't fund everybody. Within that $50,000, we're wanting to give more than the 21,000 full funding for the senior center.
Yep.
Okay, the amount instead of 21,000, I'm hearing from up to over 30,000 to maybe a couple thousand. Is there? I believe to be more prudent with our taxpayer money, we should probably reach out to the senior center to see what their thoughts are, if they need to have a bigger request, as some of you suggested they could or should have. I think it's important for us to determine what that level actually is, rather than just giving a blank check.
Mayor, what's our timeline?
Pretty quick, but we've got budget presentations.
We have a deadline where we have to make this decision.
This will be part of the budget, yes, so we'll currently, all the budget documents will be out. Are they currently all out on the website? Do they
We
go live?
posted all the presentations on.
So we will, at our next, not the next city council meeting, but last city council meeting in November, be voting on the budget. All the department heads, I believe, we've presentations at this point. All the information's out there as far as recommendations. And then council will make a decision at that point. This will be included in that budget. So
Out of for the designation of each one, or just the $50,000 for the budget?
currently it's budgeted as $50,000. If council wants to change that, you know, we can discuss and all.
Sorry.
So you want to see a list of
He's, yeah, if he's saying that's included, if that's part of the package, is that, like, it's not just 50,000, but it will, that day we'll be agreeing to this much money for each entity.
Correct.
That will be part of that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think 50,000 is a good point to start with, and I think we could divvy out what we need to those groups. They might not get as much as they wanted, but I think the primary focus, we're all kind of leaning towards the senior center, and we're all kind of leaning towards Balance for Families to be fully funded, if not a little more. And then beyond that, we want to kind of be fair to, you know, TSD and to the other, to South Puget Sound and Rebuilding Together, if there's any to disperse amongst them evenly. TSD would possibly get more because that's local community and youth, but when it comes to South Puget Sound and Rebuilding Together, we probably would hopefully split that and come up to the sum of $50,000 between those. That's what I'm hearing.
So as I'm hearing now, at the very least, we're gonna be doing this up to 31,000. That's off the table. So with the remaining, what was that, 19,000? you're wanting to split that between Total Sports Development, South Puget Sound Habitat for Humanity, and the, the Rebuilding Together Thurston County. Is that what I'm hearing?
No.
No. Okay, so we're good on the two. We're good on the senior center and rebuilding.
I don't think the senior center needs to go that extreme. I think it could be the suggestion that Hess was talking about, an extra 3,000. Palmer had suggested another 10. I think another 3,000 is wise, so that way we can disperse other organizations respectfully.
And bounties for families, from their briefing, that number that they gave us was what it would cost this year.
Yeah.
But that money is going to be for next year, which means costs are going up. So I think maybe we should give them the 12,000 so that they can make next year goal. And they know what their starting point is. So when they start fundraising, they're able to start building around that. So those are the two. And then
Rebuilding Thurston County, though, folks wanted to fund that at some level. Is that what I'm hearing from folks?
I'm saying if you're going to fund habitat, then you should fund rebuilding that.
Yeah.
equal
Fair.
amount.
We take out both of those.
we
and
did-
Give the rest of the money to the other three.
We
What
could do
if
that
we
too.
did, Like
And
25
it'll be equal.
for the 25,000 for the senior center, 15,000 for a bounty to accommodate for the increase in the amount of grocery budget.
You
So
said 25 for senior?
25 for the seniors, 15,000 for the bounty, and then 5 each for habitat and rebuilding.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hey, that makes good math right there.
What
No,
about the
that's- that-
sports?
that
You
doubles
took
it.
out the sports, Stephanie.
So there's total
Got
sports.
sports in there too.
What the sports?
I was gonna say,
yeah, I didn't write them in there.
Oh, you didn't do sports?
I'd rather support the kids.
I was gonna say,
Where's the money gonna be? I mean, where are you gonna find that?
Take out the two building.
I know it's, and cause as I said, I thought we were gonna just go right down the list. That's why I started with the Yelm Senior Center. I didn't give what my view was for all 6 of them.
Let's hear it.
But the total sports development, their briefing, I think we need to help them because what they provide is they are helping get the youth to the level that look at what Yelm High has done the past 2 years.
Look, college.
Look at what
There
the
you go. They're
community
going
has
to
done.
come, right, but they have, without even the school involved, TSD is the one who developed those youth who signed to University of Oregon, UW, and a variety of other schools, not just in football, but also in track and a few of the other sports. And they're getting ready to expand to include more sports. And my thought of it is, if we give them 7,000 or even 10,000, think of that as an investment towards those youth that don't come from a well-to-do family that can afford the fees to be part of TSD and get that training and that education. We're helping them get a college education down the line. And
Trevor, what are your thoughts on TSD?
So I agree with Councilmember Hess. I like part of what Councilmember Ken Geiser had to say. So I think the 25 for the senior, the 15 for the turkey, and $10,000 for TSD, if we're going to break it down a little bit better, I like those numbers. I think Habitat and what is it, Thrive Thurston or whatever, I think they have other funding sources available to them. Habitat, for example, they're getting $750,000 from the RHC for their home building projects over there in Yelm. So they have other sources of funding available. I'd like to see the money stay more with our local entities that are helping youth, seniors, feeding people on the holidays.
Tracy, what are your thoughts on TSD?
I think that we're out of our lane on this. I think that we, as a government, spending our citizens' money are on a very narrow lane, assisting kids that decide that they want to be serious about a sports program. I think that's, I think you're charging everybody for a small fraction of what the people that are actually gonna be taking advantage.
So you be comfortable with no funding then for total sports?
That's right.
Okay. Gary?
I want to fully fund senior center, fully fund total sports, and give the rest to bounty for families.
All right, so any other thoughts on this?
I'm with Tracy about DSD too. Well,
All right, I'm for sure hearing senior center and Bounty for Families fully funding, if not more, for both of those. We will see if we can increase slightly, maybe.
The budget and as a whole,
Correct.
I think we've all said no, thank you on that one. Did we not?
Why don't we like to see?
I don't think that, is that what is,
I have just a question. for
just real quick on this, the 50,000, is that something, just kind of nod your heads, do you want to stick within that 50,000?
Yes.
Taxpayer money.
Yes.
Okay, all right, we will stick within that 50,000. I will have a new recommendation list for you by the next meeting next week. Go from there. We're not all going to agree on this 100%. It sounds like there's definitely some we can agree on. I will be sure to recommend funding for those and try to make it as best I can with the rest with what council's guided me. All right, let's do that next Tuesday. Anything else on this? Okay, Todd.
6:40. There's not a ton of new information to discuss.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Cody and I still meet weekly, sometimes times a week, on some various options for our property. In particular, the roadway through. Obviously, everyone here knows that the biggest challenge to us is the property that neighbors us, that neighbors our 640. And so we've been in a lot of communication with that family to try to see if we can't somehow work with them to put this whole thing as a one thing together, or at minimum, at least get access through their property to put our roadway through, or at least get access to our 640. So several challenges, I will say, that we've had in working with those landowners. Primarily just because it's a board that owns that property. It's not one owner. And so they're also now getting attention from other developers for their property. So that's created obviously challenges for us in our timeline. So it might not be the worst thing in the world if, other developers choose to pursue their property. That could make ours more valuable as well. It also might make it easier for us that we're now not part of the buyer of that property. So it might not be a bad thing. We just don't have the answers yet on if those other buyers are actually going to enter an agreement with the landowners around us. And if they do, they have expressed interest in ours as well. But there's no contract yet for that other property. But we're hoping within the next couple of weeks that we have a more affirmative answer. The plan would be to, if that creates a new option for the council, we will have our reps from Kidder Matthews come and present that option to you and explore the pros and cons of that. So that's kind of where we are right now. There's no need or reason to make a decision on anything tonight. We still feel that there's some other options coming that are good, that are better than, the ones that are on the table. So that's where we are. Questions?
So are they actually entertaining offers on that piece?
See, and we're assuming yes, because we've actually been contacted by at least one developer asking questions about what they can do. So we're assuming that they've engaged in conversation. We don't believe there's a contract. Yeah, we think they're doing some of their due diligence to find out if they were to buy the 610 acres, what can they do?
How did people know about this property? Did it have anything to do with Kidder Matthews? Like,
No.
just out of the blue, all of a sudden,
Well, yeah, I don't want to go into too much detail over that because there's a lot we don't know from Triple D. But I would just say that the contact is because the developers around Triple D's property have already developed to their property. Does that make sense?
Oh, those contracts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it's nothing that, nothing publicly that's gotten out that's made it attractive. It's just the folks that are, have
Those
to go
people can do the roads,
up to the line. So, yep.
right?
That's very good.
Right.
We're talking about the triple D and our 640. Those are the only two properties that haven't been developed in that area. Is that correct?
Those are the two property zone master plan,
Okay.
the 1,250.
And so, they're both, I know ours is in the city limits. Is triple D's in the city limits or is they in our, okay, so they're both in. Okay. I want to get clarification on that.
And our 640 is private property at the moment.
We own it,
It's private, nobody should be accessing
Right.
that. Just want to clear.
our property.
Okay.
Yep.
And there's no timeline on what's going on.
Just to be clear.
They're not watching.
We believe based on the interest of that developer, we believe it'll probably proceed fairly quickly. Obviously, Triple D is looking to make the most they can. Part of it is money, but part of it is also the timeline. They didn't love our timeline we gave them. They're looking, I think, for something a little quicker. So, and a lot of that just has to do with the environmental impact studies that were done or would have to be redone. And so there's so many different complexities about it. And when the developer spoke to Cody, I think Friday, right, Cody?
Thursday. Yeah.
Thursday, they asked some questions, about it and, they probably didn't get all the answers they wanted or the right answers they wanted, just because it is zone master planned. And so, which, for our purpose, the master plan provides a lot of what we want as a city and what our taxpayers want up there, as regards to parks and open space and, these things that will benefit the bigger community. And so I'm not sure that this person wants to do that.
But if they had a plan that they gave, would we get to see it?
Oh, yeah.
We said yes.
Oh, yeah. Everything about that property has to go through council, every piece of it. So, yeah, they couldn't come in there and do what they want. Any change would have to go through you. So we're protected in that front. So just stand by on that. Like I said, we talk to them multiple times a week, to get the best thing we can for us, but it's coming.
Nice.
See ya.
Thanks, Doug.
All I got.
Mayor,
Nothing.
anybody else? To Mr. Hess.
Want to share that I had a wonderful conversation with PSE, not their PR department, but actually the tech people, the people involved with the renewable energy portion, in particular to solar power. What prompted me for this conversation with them, and I explained to them I was talking as a private citizen, not as a city council member. And I learned a lot from it. What prompted me was there was, again, more news going on out there with solar energy and with what needs to be done with our grid, in the sense that we have to rebuild high tension lines to allow more power and a variety of other things, and also how they keep going and getting agricultural land for solar farms and such. And so I asked the question of why is PSC not reaching out to property owners to cover asphalt and roofs and lease that property from, particular rooftops? If you're gonna go to a farmer and take 10 acres and lease a good chunk of money, that takes agricultural land out of the picture. And yet you have a lot of houses. And so had a really good conversation from the technical side to the people who are responsible on the policy. And some of the things that came out were PSE is not able to compete with solar installation companies. That is forget the name of the board, the utilities board of Washington that had set that rule up. On top of that, they would like to do that because from what I was saying is that if we take the city of Yelm, and if they lease rooftops and they are able to produce enough energy from those rooftops to power Yelm, now they don't have to build more high power tension lines to bring power to Yelm as Yelm grows. And so they also shared with me, and this is what I thought was very interesting, was Bucota and Tenino, I think it's Tenino, have two programs going on right now, working with PSC of storage, battery storage, and helping customers purchase those so that they can be able to help out in case of power outages and doing some things like that. And they were they very much would like to see if they can find a way to look at leasing rooftops. Not in big cities, but in the small communities like ours, of where they say, hey, your electric bill will be paid to a certain amount, so you don't have to worry about it because it's your roof that's producing it, but you know, you might have to still pay a small fee or something. And I just wanted to share that because I thought it was really interesting to learn from PSC that, yeah, they recognize they have to rebuild to increase the high tension lines, and they have to do a lot of other work just to expand our power grid due to all the electrical requirements that are being put out there. Electric vehicles, going from natural gas to electric, just all these other things. So it was a really good conversation. I just want to share that so that if you are interested in pursuing that, or you know people to talk to, please.
Didn't the city with the community center have a presentation about solar panels for the community center, the Yelm Community Center here?
The community center itself,
Yeah,
yeah,
so is that's still a thing in the making? Or?
they're coming, right? Good. Solar panels.
Talk about up top.
They're on.
Okay, so we're already done. Oh, I didn't know that. Sorry, I've been on a rock. So then that goes back into the grid.
Battery's not there yet.
They're not fully functional at this point.
Batteries aren't there
They're
yet.
installed.
They're installed, but okay. But then that feeds back into the grid. That's okay, cool.
And then they did say the reason why they aren't doing the covering asphalt as a large parking lot and a variety of other things is because it's not cost effective. There's a higher cost for the braces to hold everything up than what would pay itself off. So they are looking, and as soon as they're able to get it to be cost effective, don't be surprised if you start seeing more and more asphalt parking lots all of a sudden start getting covered to help produce electricity.
Have a fine city plan right here.
But I want to share that and let you know that in case anybody was interested in, like, they know somebody that they want to learn more about.
I just want to add, just real quick, thank you if she's watching, Christine Rampa, who's the government relations for Puget Sound Energy. They've been giving updates, not just to City of Yelm, but other municipalities as well on the people that are impacted. And she's been really good at giving that information out to us. So thanks if you're listening, Christine.
Just one little thing. Sorry, Cody, but I have to ask this. We passed this ordinance on nuisance properties last week, but I have a constituent that's come to me more than once on behalf of his whole community for a nuisance property that we are working on. But how do we know what kind of time frame that means so that when our people ask us, we have something to say? And also, do we allow roosters in the city limits? There are roosters on this property waking up the whole neighborhood.
City limits.
That's my question.
It is in the city limits.
It is what
The
allowed?
property.
Yes, it is. Yes, absolutely.
Cody, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I can briefly, I believe the property, no, so we've been working with the homeowner for a while, there's been improvements, not improvements, improvements, not improvements. It'll probably come to you as a nuisance property to vote on at some point soon. You'll have to pass it, you have to declare it a nuisance, we can't. So council has to pass it, declare it as a nuisance property to allow us to go in or someone to go in and clean it up. So it'll come to council probably with, I think there's one other property we're looking at. So it'll come to council as a nuisance property that you guys will have to declare it.
Within how long?
Probably within this year, I would imagine. I have to get a timeline.
2 months.
You only have 3 meetings left. So
City council, one more.
it has to come into a council meeting and you guys have to vote on it. It has to be a universal vote to pass it, to go in there and clean it. And we always work with police to make sure that they're okay and equipped to go in there because it's a process to go in and forcefully clean up someone's property.
That's what he means.
No, it has to just pass 4-3. Yeah, so you have a simple majority, whatever that is at the time. The other roosters are the only animal that is not allowed, unless it's pre-existing non-conforming, which I don't believe that property is.
Big rooster.
No, in sense that if you bring in a farm, and the farm had roosters when when the farm came in or the farm was part of it, Stivers Farm, for example, like if they came in the city, they have roosters, I believe, they would be able to keep those roosters because they had them when they came in. So no, if they have a rooster, then I don't believe that would be allowed because I don't think they've always had a rooster. So.
They could lie about the rooster. How long do roosters live?
It's better about the lifespan.
It's just in general, no, it's not like they get one rooster and that rooster dies, they're done with roosters. They can continue to maintain roosters as long as they've had roosters.
I don't know that would, Cody.
If they've had, but again, I don't think this property has had roosters.
Okay, it will be addressed this year.
Yeah, it should be coming to the nuisance. You only have 3 meetings left, so it'll be part of those meetings and council would have to vote.
Something to tell the person that asked me. Thank you.
All right, election night, y'all. Josh, do you wanna, anything else?
I don't have anything, I'm good.
You're in.
I'm not watching TV. See you guys. No.
All right,
You don't have TV.
we're adjourned.
All right, good night, everybody.